Hey everybody, this is Charles Calhoun, aka the Shade Tree Pro. Now I'm gonna do something a little bit different today. I always talk about my research of the golf swing and the many hours I've taken to learn it. And I know, go out, play, swing it. That's fine if that's the way you want to play golf and learn it, have fun. That's it. But as I said, I'm a researcher. I like to know how things were put together or put apart. But I'll give you an example. Growing up at my granddaddy's farm, I worked on lawnmowers. Now, Granddaddy showed me certain ways of putting pieces together. Shade Tree Pro, like putting lawnmowers together. You had the patchwork stuff. So when I went into the military and we were building the little, one-cylinder engines, I thought it was going to be nothing to do. But then when every single piece was laid out, I was like, wow, because that wasn't the way that I was taught, and you couldn't skip steps. You had to follow the steps and do it like, ooh. And it was a little bit different for me. But once I got it, then it made it just simple. You put the engine together almost blindfolded once you know exactly how all the pieces go. But the importance of it, it was all laid out there for me. So I took an approach just like that towards the golf swing. That first I laid all the pieces out. I laid every piece that I could, whether it's hands, arms, movements, I won't go into all of that, but I laid all the pieces out. The pieces that I saw, pieces that anatomy tells you, the pieces that we use each and every day. And I laid them out. And the first thing I understood about any good sport is the setup. You gotta have a proper foundation and proper setup. So I wrote my book, Golf Setup for Success, a nice little ebook, and it does what it does. It's a little sciencey, but first you gotta understand it. But now as I reach on to this next level of talking about the setup, in a sense, using creative visualization, you have to have something that you can visualize. It makes it a lot easier when you can visualize. If I tell you right now to visualize a windmill, you probably could do that as simple as anything. If I tell you to visualize a banana, whatever. So even when we're setting up to hit a golf ball or in other sports, you have to have a visualization of how you're going to set up, what it looks like, what it feels like. What the mind, the mind develops pictures for you. So as you're developing these, bringing these images in and developing this picture of what you want to see yourself look like when you set up. And so if you got a better sense of that, you could do it. But every setup, regardless of who we are, there has to be a proper foundation, just like building a footer for a house. It's pretty much basic the same. Baking vanilla cake is pretty much the same. We have to have a basic in which we can start from. So that goes into what I was talking about here. People have heard me say, from the dorsiflexion in the toe to the first rib, and then at the acetagnums over the femoral head. That's kind of what the whole process is, because I said this is the top of the body cavity and that's the bottom. But if you look at the shoulders, these are the shoulders. The shoulders set around the top of the body, kind of like a set of shoulder pads. A lot of y'all played ball back in the day. You remember the days of, being late or whatever, throwing your shirt and you pass over, spinning them around. That's kind of how the shoulder girdle works on top of the body. So if I know that it works on top of the body and it rotates around the body, then it's up to me to build, a foundation that best fit that. Most times in the setup, when people are talking, they're usually off the shoulders down to the feet. And in my view, they're building an image of a square. And it's very, very hard to get any good rotation around the square. We need a real pivot point. So, if you look at my model I have here, from the very top two ribs, the chest protrudes out. And as it protrudes out, and we have our feet open here, it forms an A. It forms at least the angle or the foundation or the shape of an A. So if it forms that shape, now we can build a setup off of that, because now at the top we have a pivot point that we can swing or rotate our shoulder girdle around, just like how we used to twist our pads around our shoulders when we play ball. So once you have that, and I'm going to stand up here in a minute, and I'm going to show you how simple it is that once you have that setup, remember, from the very first two ribs, the rib cage starts to protrude out, the legs and feet are open, and it forms the shape or the form of an A. And that's your foundation. That's what you're going to build your golf swing around. Now you can twist your A over here a little bit or twist it there, but no matter what you do, the foundation of that A never changes. That's the type of stuff that I teach. That's, I don't need to get up. You all should be able to figure that out. But that's the type of stuff that doing research, learning, using creative visualization, trying to find, in a sense, that one thing, for an example, that we needed, that we need to build the foundation. That's everybody, whether you are 20 handicap, whether you're a scratch golfer, we all have this shape in our body. So we all can create that shape, that form, to be able to build a swing around. I did a video on Calvin Pete, and I like Calvin Pete. I like Calvin Pete's golf swing. He had a great setup. But Calvin Pete's golf swing was one of the cornerstones that started pushing me towards a better way of understanding body movements to create not only just a golf swing, but to move more efficient to help protect ourselves from injuries. And because swinging at that high rate of speed, if you really don't have a proper foundation, a good setup, man, it's just like a tornado come through. You can really, truly hurt yourself. But one thing that was so unique, as I said, about Calvin Pete that probably made his swing so effective was the simple fact is because of the fusing of his left elbow, regardless of how he swung, that elbow was straight for him in a sense, but yet the same, it was bent. So it was just kind of unique in its own way. But regardless of what he did, this arm was, the right arm was locked in because it could never, because this couldn't go any further. It was like, it was almost like it, you don't want to say it was an advantage, but it kind of is, because when you have a joint that's mobile, now you've cut another emotion down that you don't have to use, and now this matches up to it, pretty simple. It's kind of like, what's that in the chain or whatever, about the weakest link, you all know all that. But anyway, that's kind of, you're going to follow that. But I thought that was unique about Calvin Pete's golf swing, and it helped me with a lot of my studies when it came to setting up, how the arms work, different things of why we bend over. I mean, all these little things, of studying the unique type of swings is what gave me a better perspective of studying, or just that maybe they weren't unique. It was just everything was built on, hopefully the setup that I'm speaking of. And as I call it, it's an A-frame setup. So, give it a try, see how you like it. Like I said, I get a lot of compliments on my setup, and if you look in my videos, you might see that I've got a pretty decent setup. I don't worry about it too much. And the great thing about it, I forgot to say, the great thing about it is that it transfers over to your chipping, to your putting. You still have to build the A-frame. And once you do that, you might be on your way to playing some good golf. Hey, this is Charles Calhoun, aka the Shade Tree Pro, and always good golfing.